Hey, welcome to the Time Blueprint once again, and we've got a great show on the way for you today. We're going to be talking about how do you know? And never stop asking that question. It's like when you were a kid, Frank, and you'd always ask, why?
Drove my dad crazy.
Yeah.
Drove him crazy.
But it's good to be inquisitive
absolutely.
like that, right?
I agree, yeah.
So
that's how you learn.
We want our viewers to be that way too. So in today's episode, to help you navigate retirement planning a little bit better, we're going to ask those questions. Why and how do you know? And try to uncover some of those answers. Let's get to it. Welcome to the Time Blueprint with Frank Oliver of Oliver Asset Management. Here we break down taxes, income, money, and estate planning, giving you the tools to make informed financial decisions and aim for better retirement outcomes. Your host is financial advisor Frank Oliver, the president and founder of Oliver Asset Management. He's the author of Your Time Is Now, sharing the essentials you need to know to craft a comprehensive and customized retirement plan. Dive in with us as we offer clear strategies and straightforward advice, all designed to empower you in your financial journey. Welcome to the Time Blueprint. Well, we're back for another episode. It's going to be a good one today as we ask, how do you know? And we've got a couple of other good topics to touch on today as well. We're going to talk a little camping, a little bit camping or beach. It's going to be kind of one of our conversations a little later. Yeah. And we've got a good viewer question as well that we'll dive into. Yeah. Before all of that, Frank, how's life treating you?
Life's pretty good. It's been some interesting happenings in the last couple of weeks. We'll get to that at the end of the podcast if you want. But,
yes.
Yeah, I got some good stories.
We're actually going to say you're going to have to go watch another video to find out what we're talking about. What's
been going on in my crazy life over the last few weeks.
What's going on with Frank, yes. So we had a little delay in today's taping because of a pretty interesting story.
Absolutely,
so,
yeah.
Part of that story was the fires that we had recently.
Fires were crazy.
And so glad to hear that your property is good.
Yeah.
But you had evacuations pretty close by. So give people an update on that.
Yeah, so we were a quarter miles away from mandatory evacuation. So it started off with the Alexander Mountain fire, which was just on the other side, north of Highway 34, just west of Masonville a little bit. And they kept the 34 break there. So the fire didn't come past 34. If it had jumped 34, I think it'd have been a different story.
Yeah.
So as soon as we're starting to feel safe from that fire, then the fire from Lion, I can't remember the name of it, but there was a fire from Lyons.
The Lyons one. I can't remember that one either.
I can't remember that. But,
well, one was a Stone Mountain fire, right?
That was the one, I believe.
Even though the Alexander fire was impacting Stone Mountain itself.
Yeah,
it was a little confusing.
Yeah, so they were converging on both sides of us.
Yeah.
So we're right in the middle. So if you looked at a Google map, opened it up, and the little blue dot is you, we were the one little spot on the entire map out of 100 square miles.
Yeah.
That were the only ones that were not evacuated.
Yeah.
So there were like 3 houses that were not under evacuation. So
scary.
It was interesting.
We missed a lot of the fire. We were out of town while it was all happening. And right when we got back was like the last day or two where there was still kind of some smoke, but they'd gotten it back under control.
I've never seen smoke like that in my life.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Not fun. And
there were not too many structures lost.
Yeah.
So that part was good. Our neighborhood
was safe. Hopefully everybody's good up in the canyon.
Yeah, I don't think there were any fatalities. So
that was good to see up that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We drove to Estes recently, Estes Park, on the way to the national park. And it's too bad to see the burn there.
It is.
But some of those houses, you can see the burn is just like feet from their home. Right next to it.
It's amazing how the fire jumps and will burn one house and then miss another one.
Yeah, or hit this tree and not that tree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
so
very random at times, it seems.
Yeah, that one was a little too close for comfort, for sure.
Well, glad all has gone well since then. We've gotten some more rain, so hopefully we're out of the woods.
We've had a great amount of rain here recently. Yeah, that's been awesome.
Hopefully we're past fire season with all that rain.
Hopefully.
So fingers crossed.
Yep.
All right, let's get to the financial talk and some retirement planning conversations here. As we talked about, we want to talk about how do you know? So we've got 5 specific ways to give you on today's show that are really good questions and a great reason to ask, how do you know? To try and look under the hood and really discover what's going on there, Frank. So let's dive into these and talk about why these how do you know questions are so important.
Sure.
First one on our list is, how do you know how much income you'll need when you retire? This builds the foundation of everything, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great question. I think it's probably one of the most common questions that come up in our office when people meet with us.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't think it's as difficult as people make it. First, you need to know how much money you're spending, right?
Yeah.
How much fun are you having? How much money are you wasting? How much money are you spending?
Okay.
Just get a budget set forth. If you get a budget set forth, and that really will, you got to kind of reverse engineer it a little bit. Know how much money you're spending, know if things are going to be paid off in retirement. And once you have those couple components there figured out, then what you want to do is really look at about a 5% withdrawal rate from the portfolio. So if you have $1 million, that's $50,000 a year in income.
Yeah.
Figure out what your Social Security benefits are. So now if you know how much money you have, $1 million is about $50,000 a year. Combine that with the Social Security and see if that's enough to satisfy your budget.
Okay.
Do you want to leave any money to your children if you have family? Do you want to leave any money to charities? Then you may want to save a little bit more. But quite honestly, just determine your budget, determine how much fun you want to have in retirement.
Yeah.
Figure out what your Social Security is, and then take your net worth divided by 5%, and that'll be a pretty close point, a pretty close place to start. We get much more detailed.
You really are a little kid at that point.
Yeah.
Because you're saying this one really just unlocks a lot of whys.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Oh, okay. Well, we can talk income, but let's first look at these 15 different things.
Yeah. Look at just how much fun you want to have. I think most of the people we talk to can retire. It's just how much fun are they going to have in retirement? Okay. So I think you really need to look at and say, what is an enjoyable retirement versus what is a retirement?
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I think that's what people need to look at. Run a plan. We use sophisticated software that'll really dial that in for people. So
makes a lot of sense. Yep. All right. Another how do you know question. This one is, how do you know how much money you should have in your savings account? Sometimes people have plenty of money saved, but they don't know where to put it and how to allocate it. And savings accounts seem to maybe trip people up.
Yeah, and that kind of ties into the other question just a little bit as well. So you have savings accounts and you have retirement accounts.
Yeah. And checking accounts.
And checking accounts.
Is that different than a savings account?
Accounts and everything else. Yeah. So we, anymore, it's not any, well, it is now because the savings account's finally paying some interest.
Right.
2 years ago, they were the same because neither one of them paid any interest.
That's right.
Yeah. I think that's, again, looking at your budget, right? And it depends on if you're working, if you're retired, have you elected Social Security, and do you have a pension? So typically we recommend 6 to 12 months in savings, probably more on the 12-month end if you're working, because it may take you a little while to find a job.
Okay.
If you're retired, 6 months in savings is probably fine. You really want your money working for you, not sitting idle in a bank account.
So savings account, we really want to equate that with emergency fund.
Emergency funds, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. And so the how do you know how much is, well, how much would you need in an emergency?
Yeah. How long is it going to take you to find a job?
Right. And if you're retired, then it's other item, a roof.
If you're retired, if you're on Social Security and pension, then you're not going to be looking for a job. But you're right, it is going to be emergency funds. Yeah.
So if somebody's got $200,000 sitting in a savings account, you would look at that and go, okay, well, what emergency is going to cost us that
$200,000
amount?
What is the largest emergency expense you think you're going to have?
Yeah.
And that should be in cash. Maybe some vacation money, Christmas money, gifts for the kids, travel funds. But outside of that, you should honestly have the majority of your money working for you.
And that'll help you determine if somebody's overweighted and has too much in that account, or the other way, and it's too little.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, very cool. So that's how you determine how much money should be in your savings account. Another good one here, Frank, is how do you know when you are financially ready to retire? Two components. There's mentally ready to retire, which might be today. I'm ready to retire today, but financially ready is a different question.
Right. And again, all of these tie together really well. So how do you know when you're financially ready to retire? Again, I think you really just need to know what type of retirement you're looking forward to.
Okay.
Are you a traveler, or are you just going to go hike in the mountains in Colorado? Do you want an RV? Do you want a boat? Do you want a cabin in Estes Park or whatever town that you live in? And again, really kind of look at your overall expenses and determine how much money how much money would I like to spend in retirement? And then that will let you know if you're financially ready to retire, if you've saved properly. Again, and just the easy way to back into this, again, is to use the 5% rule. So if you saved $1 million, if you need $50,000 a year in retirement, $1 million divided by 5% or times 5%, there's your $50,000. So
gotcha. Yep. See how the numbers come together. That'll give you that direction that you need to see if you're financially ready. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Get a plan in place. It's not that much more complicated than that.
Come see us.
Yeah. If you want to get in touch with Frank and the team at Oliver Asset Management, it's easy to do so. A couple of different ways. You can go to oliverassetmanagement.com. That's oliverassetmanagement.com. You'll also see, if you're watching on the YouTube version of the episode today, you'll see that information on the screen, also down in the show notes or description of today's show, ways that you can interact and get in touch with Frank. All right, so we're navigating through retirement. We're asking, how do you know? Here's another good one, Frank. How do you know if you should buy an annuity for retirement income? So we've talked about income and the need for it,
right?
And people will, if they're getting close to retirement or thinking about it, they're going to hear that word, annuity.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Annuities have a interesting reputation. I personally actually like annuities, and I think they're great for income planning. But if you Google annuity, you'll get just as much bad as you will good on the annuity products. It's important to know the type of annuity that you're purchasing, right? Okay. So you have a fixed annuity, a fixed indexed annuity, and then you have a variable annuity. A fixed annuity is like a CD alternative. It's just going to clip off a certain interest rate based on the market conditions at that time. On the far end of the spectrum, you have the variable annuity, which is actually linked to the market. The value of that account can rise and the value of that account can fall based on market conditions. What makes that good for income planning is that on some of these variable annuities, you can attach an income rider that will guarantee income for the rest of your life, regardless of the account value. And sometimes it'll give you cost of living adjustment on that as well. Now, in the middle of those two, you got the fixed annuity and the variable annuity. In the middle of those is called a fixed indexed annuity.
Okay.
That really takes both of those products and combines them. So you have the safety of the fixed annuity. So you have full principal protection, which really does make it nice for producing income in retirement. We've been through some crazy market conditions here recently.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Insane. And so I think the fixed products brought a lot of comfort to my clients. But you also want your assets to grow greater than 2, 3, 4, 5% if the market's hitting 10, 15, 20, right?
Sure. You don't want to miss all of that opportunity.
You do not want to miss that upside, but you also want to have some protection. So the indexed annuity that sits in between the fixed and the variable does give you some market participation. So if the markets are performing, you're going to experience a nice percentage of that performance. If the markets fail, then you're going to have full principal protection on that account. So it really does give you the best of both worlds and gives you a way to really produce an optimal outcome and a predictable outcome when you're producing income in retirement. So I do like annuities for the right reasons. But if you're going to do a Google search on them, get prepared. Yeah, there's a lot of good and a lot of bad out there.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. How do you know if you should buy an annuity for retirement income? Well, make sure you understand the difference. I mean, that's a good first step to then seeing if it's the right fit for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So work with an advisor who's going to take that time to explain it to you, show how it works with your plan. That's really, really important.
Right.
All right, last one here, Frank, and we're moving on to Social Security as our final topic here in this discussion. How do you know when to start taking Social Security benefits? That's
everybody's favorite question. Yeah, everybody's favorite.
Is that probably the question most people ask that like gets them in the door to talk to you? Like that's the thing they're wondering?
Well, and I think, and then as so I'm 56. So as I grow closer to retirement, I can kind of start to understand a little bit better of what I've been hearing for the last 20 years of my career.
Okay.
I think it's really mentally difficult when you can elect a Social Security benefit at 62 and it is your money. But I think when you take that Social Security benefit, you don't feel like you're spending your money, even though you save for it, right? It's partially your funds. But if you have to wait another 8 years to get that benefit,
it's a long time.
I think mentally it's just, it's a challenge, right? So when do you start to take Social Security really is based on several different factors. One is going to be how much have you saved? What's your level of assets? How much money do you want to spend? How much fun do you want to have in retirement, right? Do you want to be a couch potato or do you want to do a little bit of traveling? Do you like to go out to eat? So we've answered this question, thousands of times for the last 20 years. We finally got to the point probably 10 years ago that we merged 2 or 3 different pieces of software together to really produce the optimal outcome for our clients because everybody's different. Okay. Some people have millions of dollars. They can wait till 70 to take their Social Security benefits and then stop the withdrawals on their assets. Some folks may need to elect Social Security a little bit early. Maybe they had some situations in their life happen where they couldn't save quite as much money. So I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer there.
Sure.
I think the wrong answer is to elect without doing any research.
Okay.
That's the wrong answer. Do not elect, don't just go out and elect Social Security benefits without talking to somebody like me, letting us build a plan, look at the tools that we have, because we're able to really optimize this outcome for you. But just electing Social Security at 62 because you can, probably is the wrong decision.
Okay.
So,
very good. Well, it's going to be something that a lot of people are going to have questions about when it comes to Social Security. Yeah. It gets a lot of people starting to ask. It's really a first step for a lot of people who are planning for retirement. And that's why Frank has put together a really helpful guide for folks that are in that position. And I want to give you the opportunity to get this guide for free right now. So if you have questions about Social Security, about retirement in general, this might be a great place for you to start. The guide is called Social Security Simplified. It's going to walk you through some of the key questions that you need to ask about electing Social Security, when to take it, how to take it, some of the other nuances to be aware of. And it's going to just help you make some of those early decisions, or at least raise the right questions that you need to be asking.
Right. So, again, everybody's situation is different. So,
yeah, absolutely. But if you want to get that guide and dip your toes into the financial planning waters a little bit and do a little bit of learning on your own time, here's how to do it. Just look in the description of today's show. You're going to see a link for that Social Security Simplified guide. Click that, and you'll be able to download it for free to your computer, read it now, or at your convenience. So if you want to get a copy of Social Security Simplified, check the description of today's show, click on it, and you can get that guide right now. All right, Frank, we've got more to get to today. We're going to get to know you a little bit better next, and we've got a great viewer question coming up to end things today.
Right on. Thanks, Walter.
All right, so to get to know Frank better today, we're asking a pretty simple question. Now, for those who don't know, you and I, we live in Colorado,
right.
So there might bias the answer here a little bit. Maybe not, though. Are you a camping or a let's go to the beach?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm a native of Colorado, so I love the mountains.
Yep.
My dad was Chevy Chase with a camper.
Okay.
So we had a lot of Christmas vacations, just a lot of vacations in general. Chevy Chase's vacation.
Yep.
But we probably spent most of the time in the mountains of Colorado.
Okay.
So we used to go to Central City before it was a gambling town, and my dad just used to love to go 4-wheel, and we go to all the old gold mines and go to the gold panning areas and all of that. So I do love the mountains. I have a huge passion for the mountains, but my wife's parents live in Florida.
Oh, okay.
So I have to tell you, it is a really nice experience to do something different
from
time to time. So I can't say at this point in my life I like one over the other.
Yeah.
I like them both equally as much. I have friends in Florida that have big fishing boats. I love to go offshore fishing.
Yeah.
I love the beach. So I'm
It is hard to pick. I'm right there with you because I grew up at the beach. And,
right.
But
That's
now
right,
live
yeah.
in Colorado
Yeah.
and absolutely love the mountains. Yeah. And I don't know if we mentioned on a recent episode, we got a trailer. So we're campers now.
You got your Jeep.
And we've got the Jeep.
Jeep
and we're
truck,
hauling it with the Jeep truck. And so we had our first successful in the mountains camping trip.
Yeah.
It went smoothly, nothing too crazy. So I like camping a lot too. It's pretty fun.
It'd
It's
be
very
a coin toss
peaceful
for me for sure.
Yeah. So we'll just say both. We want to have our cake and eat it
We have
too.
cabins in the mountains. I've been going to
Yeah.
Yeah, we have cabins up by Walden. So, I mean,
the answer we didn't say was you could technically camp at the beach.
You can camp at the beach.
So we could have best of both worlds if you wanted to.
Do that.
So, although camping at the beach is a little hot. So
I prefer to camp at the mountains.
Yeah. If I'm going to camp, I like it kind of chilly. A little
bit. You can have a campfire.
Yeah.
You don't want you can have a campfire on the beach, but
yeah.
The mountains is a place for a campfire.
That's the place you want to go for sure.
Yeah.
All right, we got to answer a viewer question before we get out of here, and it's a pretty good one. In fact, this one's going to come to us from Marty, and Marty's got questions about living comfortably and how much you need to have saved, and he's heard a rumor of kind of like what you're supposed to do. So let's unpack that question next. All right, so you can submit your questions by just going to oliverassetmanagement.com and fill out a form on the website to submit a question. We can feature it on a future show if you'd like, or you can talk your concerns out one-on-one with Frank and the team. All right, so Marty has our question this month, Frank. Marty says, I've heard that you need to have between 15 and 20 times your annual salary in savings to be able to retire comfortably. Do you think that's accurate?
Marty, that's a great question. And I think one of the toughest challenges to try to figure out is how much money do I need to have saved in retirement, and comparing that with your salary. Again, I think that things change when you retire. I'm not sure that you spend some people may, but I think your spending habits may change in retirement.
Yeah.
So your salary right now is probably going to invest, build up your 401k, pay down some debt such as a mortgage or a car, pay off college loans for your kids, stuff like that. A lot of those expenses and a lot of those obligations go away in retirement. So you may not need to save 15 to 20 times your salary to retire. But again, just kind of we use a 5% rule at our office, right?
Yeah.
Where again, if you have $1 million and you want to, preserve the assets, responsibly, pulling out 5% from that account every year should allow you to produce the income you need and still do a pretty good job of preserving those assets.
Yeah.
So again, $1 million is $50,000 a year. So kind of back into the question that way.
You really don't like looking at that total, because it's so easy for folks to focus on. If I can just have that, that's why there was that commercial campaign a while back that people walked around with the big number, right?
Yeah.
And that was the big number that then once I hit, 2.7 million, I can retire.
Right.
Once it's 1.3, I can retire. They're getting there by doing the math that you are, but mentally it's nice if we can just, instead of shooting for 5% of my withdrawal and how much if I can just hit a number I've got saved, it feels a lot better.
Yeah.
So, and by this rumor or by this assumption Marty's talking about, so if you made $100,000 a year, you would need $2 million to retire is kind of the barometer
that's what he's driving
off
at. Yeah, exactly.
Do you feel like, just gut feeling, meeting with your clients, someone who's in that $100,000 a year range salary-wise, if they've got $2 million saved for retirement, are they usually in the ballpark?
Oh, absolutely.
Being ready to
I
retire?
think they feel comfortable.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you add some Social Security benefits for you and your spouse on top of that. And you should have a pretty comfortable retirement.
Yeah. So maybe this just lets you know you're in the ballpark.
Yeah. So if you're earning $100,000 a year and, 20% of that goes to the mortgage and, you're contributing 10, 15, 20% to the 401k and you're contributing to other investment accounts as well. Those obligations stop in retirement.
Yeah.
So you're going to have some more free capital at that point.
It's going to help out even more.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, hopefully that helps, Marty. It sounds like it gets you in the ballpark, and that's, I think, a good starting point maybe for some folks. But don't build your plan off of like, I'm definitely good to go, just based on kind of a random metric.
Build a plan.
Then you will know. Because the good news is somebody could be watching this video and 10 times their annual salary is perfectly fine. And if they just assume this, they may not. If they don't go through the planning process, then they wouldn't know.
Yeah, you really got to look at what's going to be paid off in the future, which Social Security benefits are when you're going to retire. You're going to retire at 50. You're going to retire at 60. You're going to retire at 70. So a lot of different factors go into play there.
Yeah.
So
This is a little too simple. Got to come in, get a plan done. That'll get you in the right direction.
Makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
Well, again, if you want to come in and meet with Frank and the team, all you have to do is go to oliverassetmanagement.com. You can schedule a time to meet with Frank right there from your smartphone or computer. You can schedule it online. Very easy to do that. We'll link to that in the description of today's show as well. And as we mentioned earlier, don't forget to download that free Social Security guide, Social Security Simplified.
Yep.
Be sure to check that out as well. Just check the description for the necessary links, and you're good to go. Frank, thanks for a great show today.
Thank you, Walter.
Yeah, we'll look forward to talking to you again soon.
Yep. Cheers.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Advisory services offered through Creative One Wealth, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Creative One Wealth, LLC, and Oliver Asset Management are unaffiliated entities. Licensed insurance professional. Respond and learn how financial products, including life insurance and annuities, can be used in various planning strategies for retirement. The information contained herein is based on our understanding of current tax law. The tax and legislative information may be subject to change and different interpretations. We recommend that you seek professional tax advice for applicability to your personal situation.